Hey guys, thanks for checking out this shorter episode of Practical EMS. Today I wanted to talk about Colorado State Bill 83, which has passed, because it does have some ramifications for PAs practicing in Colorado, and I think overall this is a very good thing. I'm going to be reading from coloradopas.org. CAPA's got this great kind of summarizing documents that gives a very good idea of what this is changing, what it's not changing, and kind of some of the details about this. So I'm going to be basically quoting from this, but I think it provides really good summary. Just in case you guys don't want to do the work of reading through all this, I'll read through it for you and kind of summarize it. So basically, State Bill 83 is not about expanding scope of practice. It's about providing health care. So practically, it does not change a lot about what PAs are doing, but it makes it a lot easier to practice as a PA and increases a lot of access. So State Bill 83 updates how PAs practice medicine in physician practices and other healthcare facilities to reflect the needs of today's healthcare practice needs. Because it's removing the statutory requirement that PAs must be supervised by a physician, which a lot of the states have already moved to do this. So Colorado's probably even a little bit behind a lot of other states. So this mandatory requirement previously would restrict a PA's ability to maintain the skills he is educated and trained to perform because a PA's scope of practice is tied to their supervising physician's scope of care. So when that physician is replaced by another physician who doesn't share the same scope, that PA is prohibited from providing the former skill set. So by eliminating the supervising requirement, PAs can continue to practice the skills they've learned and excel at over the course of their career, allowing patients to receive the care they need. I think that's great. I've heard stories, especially in rural locations, which is what this really affects, where PAs have a skill set, they're certified to insert an IUD or something like that, and if their supervising physician is not, they can't do those skills, and that, basically makes it so patients can't get these things done when otherwise they would be able to get these procedures and stuff like that. State Bill 83 maintains patient safety and quality of care because they're still going to require this ongoing collaborative agreement with a physician or employer. And they have strict requirements as to what's going to be in this collaborative agreement. It's decided upon by the physician or the employer and will specify how new and established PAs will work with physicians and other providers in the healthcare team. PAs with less than 3,000 hours will have more oversight. Some of the requirements include collaboration in person or via technology and a PA evaluation at 6 and 12 months. PAs will continue to be held to the same strict standard and ethical requirements that are required of all professionals regulated by the state medical board. That's all great. State Bill 83 will increase access to care. Currently, only 13% of Colorado's PAs practice in rural areas, likely due to the existing restrictive laws and regulations. So eliminating the requirement for a PA to have a specific supervisory relationship with a physician will make it easier for PAs to practice in rural and medically underserved communities. That sounds great. State Bill 83 will reduce healthcare costs. Increasing practice flexibility will ensure that patients are seen in the right setting by the right provider at the right time, which can reduce the overall cost of healthcare. A study on the cost effectiveness of PAs found that when the cost and time of a PA's education and salary are considered alongside the medical tasks a PA may perform, PAs are, quote, one of the most cost-effective healthcare clinicians to employ, end quote. Another study found that by making even modest improvements to practice laws for PAs, the state of Alabama could see $729 million in healthcare savings over 10 years. Now, I don't know what that translates to for Colorado, but it sounds like it's a great way to reduce healthcare costs by better utilizing PAs. State Bill 83 will eliminate existing administrative burdens on physicians and employers. Some of their frequently asked questions here are, why is this bill necessary? So the bill will simplify the practice requirements for PAs and physicians and employers with whom they practice. 2, make it easier for healthcare teams to deliver care without burdensome paperwork restrictions. And 3, ultimately increase patient access to healthcare services in Colorado. That all sounds great. Why is this bill changing? The bill will give the PA physician team flexibility to determine the terms of collaboration for new PAs and PAs changing practice areas, while ensuring that protections like a collaborative agreement and performance evaluations are in place. As in current law, the state medical board will retain the ability to investigate and discipline PAs who exceed their scope, but the state bill creates a floor and not a ceiling. In other words, just like today, employers will be able to create additional collaboration requirements that go above and beyond the requirements in the law if they believe it is necessary to do so based on their staffing and patient population. Rather than creating new barriers, this bill will increase staffing flexibility for many healthcare systems, facilities, and offices by removing burdensome paperwork requirements and allowing employers to hire and deploy PAs as they see fit. Specifically, the bill is changing the references from supervision to a collaborative agreement. So a lot of this is kind of some verbiage change rather than anything practical, but especially for rural locations, I think it will kind of translate to some real practical benefits, especially for patients. Will this allow PAs to practice independently? No. While State Bill 83 will allow PAs to practice without direct supervision with a physician, they will have an ongoing collaborative agreement that outlines how they practice within the medical team and will still be required to consult with or refer to other members of the healthcare team as appropriate. PAs have a strong commitment to team practice, which I totally agree with. I think as PAs, we are intrinsically tied to the physician team. I agree with this still requiring us to not practice independently. I still feel very autonomous with the way that I practice, but I think most people that go to PA school understand this, that we are not physicians, and we're never going to fool ourselves into thinking we're physicians. We did not have that long of education, not that rigorous of education, and we're okay with that. And so I think keeping this as a team mentality with physicians is absolutely key. So I think what they're noting here that PAs have a strong commitment to team practice is super important. And this legislation is not going to alter that commitment. Instead, this bill will allow PAs, physicians, and other healthcare providers to retain all the benefits of working as a team while eliminating the administrative burden that a supervisory agreement entails. Under this legislation, PAs would continue to only be authorized to own up to 49% of a medical practice. How will PAs be regulated and patient safety maintained and protected? State Bill 83 does not change PA scope of practice. Current laws state that PAs may perform acts constituting the practice of medicine consisting with sound medical practice, and to the extent determined by the medical board, these acts are defined as diagnosing, treating, prescribing for, or preventing physical or mental health conditions or substance use disorder through the use of drugs, surgery, telemedicine, and the interpretation of diagnostic tests and other means. The medical board will retain authority of PA practice and the ability to discipline a PA if warranted. Are other states doing this? Yes, this bill is modeled after 20 states. So overall, I think this is a very good thing for PAs. A lot of this is really just verbiage changes, but changes that most other states have been moving towards. And so I think it's good that Colorado is moving towards this as well. And I do think ultimately this isn't going to change how I practice in the emergency setting, but I think for rural PAs especially, this should really help expand care for patients that are having difficulty having access to it. So I think overall this is a very good thing, and I think it's very encouraging that they are maintaining the collaboration with physicians, because I think intrinsically as PAs, we work with physicians. We do not practice independently, and I think anyone that's gone to PA school or anybody that's considering PA school understands the fundamental nature of being a physician assistant, that we are not necessarily independent practitioners. We work as a team with physicians. We increase the reach of physicians and increase patients' access to healthcare by being an extension. And I was very used to this being a paramedic. You work under a physician. The reason you can do any skill and any scope of practice is because you're working under a physician. And I think by changing the verbiage here, it really will help with a lot of paperwork type things and increase patients' access to care while maintaining that super important team mentality as a PA, because we're intrinsically tied to physicians. And I think if you're going to go to PA school, or if you're an existing PA, you have to be okay with that team mentality. And personally, I feel very autonomous when I work, but I think that team mentality is absolutely key. And I think it's great that the verbiage here is really maintaining that while also giving us a little bit more flexibility. So I hope you guys understand this bill a little bit better. It has passed, so it may have some ramifications for where you're working. If you guys like this, comment on it below. If you have any questions, check out coloradopas.org. That's where I got all this information from, and I'm just reading right off their website. They summarize it very well, so go check it out.